and welcome into another episode of InDepth with PlusNTrust. Got very special guest with me today. My name is Mitch B. He is Kenyon Dixon, aka Kenny Got Soul, one of the best in the game in the R&B world. Got a great pen, melodies, vocals, harmonies. It's all there for you if you're looking for it. So the people that say R&B ain't dead or R&B is dead, you're just not looking in the right places. Man, I appreciate you having me or coming on.
Yes, sir. Likewise, man. Thank you for having me.
So how's everything been for you? We'll get into the project that you just dropped about a month ago, Expectations. A lot to unpack there. But how has everything been for you in the first quarter of 2021?
It's been awesome, man. I talk about it often, but it's just crazy considering this being a time of like global lack in theory, where norms are being disrupted. I think I've seen the biggest like increase on investment. For all the work I've put in, now I've seen so much just flourish all at one time, which is super not the norm, giving a time like this where you don't really know what to expect. So it's been a blessing. I've been grateful and just carefully navigating and trying to keep the momentum because I see this as a window of opportunity to get stuff done if you're able to. And I think this is a great time for the self-sufficient. And I write all my music, produce a lot of it, and so it's just I know me personally as an artist, I don't really have an excuse not to be going, so I'm just trying to take advantage of it.
And you say the word artist, and I think of you being like the literal definition, where at every point of the creative process of making the song, you usually have a hand in the cookie jar. So where did that kind of come from, where you were able to be multi-dimensional?
It's always been my interest. I think I'm just a very hands-on person in general, and it's no slight to anybody. You have to know your strong points. Even though I have my hands in everything, there are still certain aspects of it that I'm greater at. Like I co-produce a lot of my records, but I actually sit down, open up Logic, produce, not just tell producers what to do. Right. And so I produce a lot of my latest music with two guys, Marcus Curtis and Chris Black, who get it. They understand. So I have my ideas. I send it. It's like, okay, cool. This is the most I feel like I can do. Now you guys add your genius to it. And so we work well together in that aspect. But for me, it kind of all started. I knew I wanted to do music, and it's hard figuring out who to connect to, who to do what, especially like when you're just getting started. You don't know what you want to do. And so I would have so many producers who are like, yo, man, hit me up. I'm going to send you some stuff, or let's work, or whatever the case is. And you're at the mercy of other people's time. And if anybody knows, as a writer, when you have ideas, sometimes if you don't get those ideas out immediately, you lose the interest to even create them. So I realized I took like electronic music in high school. So I knew how to use all of these programs, and they were already on my computer. And I had a moment with myself, like, you're waiting on somebody to do something that you have access to figure out yourself. And I opened GarageBand at the time. And
the throwback.
Yeah, started producing, and I already knew how to record myself. I started figuring out like what all these plugins and different settings meant. And that was kind of my introduction to being completely hands-on with my music. I've always written 100% of anything that I'm singing as an artist. So that was always there. But even now, I record myself for every single song that I put out. I'll send stuff to the engineers that I work with, but even then, they'll tell you I send them sessions that are pretty much already what I want, and they just have to, they know what to do to take it to the next level. So right. I think that really stems from me being a student of the art. I respect music. I respect and I want to maintain. I want music to maintain its integrity. And so I think a huge part of pushing that forward is making sure you learn what you can. So as an artist, I challenge myself to know everything about my art. I don't think I shouldn't be able to have a conversation about something that I've created. So I just make sure I, know what I can know.
No, man, being a student of the game is huge, especially the way that you get intricate in your songs. And maybe to the casual listener, they're not hearing everything that goes into a song, but like when they hear this latest album from you, Expectations, there was a lot that went into that. How long did it take to complete this project? Was it over a couple of years? Was it just like during the pandemic, because you got melodies stacked together, and it just seemed like you put your all into this project. Not that you don't before, but it seemed like you really unlocked something or tapped into something here on this project.
Yeah, this one was different for sure, and it is a pandemic baby. Like all these records came about during the pandemic. The guys I mentioned, Chris Black and Marcus Curtis, we produced the entire album together with the exception of like one song. And so we met in like December. And we the first thing we ever did was I released something on Valentine's Day 2020, which was like an Anita Baker, like, an ode to Anita. And
Sure.
we put that out shortly after, basically so that was February. By May, I believe it was May 22nd, we released my Switch EP, which was 5 songs. Switch, You Hate to See It, Hard Way, Sky's the Limit, and there's one other song, Should Have Been You. And so that was the foundation for what's Expectations now, because Expectations is really just the LP to Switch. It's just Switch the album, but I changed the name. And so that came out January 29th. I think I had all of my records ready, mixed and mastered in October. And so from May until October, I think that's how long it took to make the album. And it moved really fast too, because I was out on the road touring for like the last 2 years prior to the pandemic happening. And so it allowed me, I think I was so motivated and inspired that I just moved very, very quickly with getting this project done. I had so much motivation, so much to talk about, so many experiences I wanted to share, and just different ideas. So I pretty much worked through the summer. I created the rest of the album in the summer. And by the end of summer, a little bit through fall, I think we were ready to go.
Man, you know what? On the eve of the Grammys, it's just important to highlight, great R&B. And you had 18 tracks on this one. It really felt like the R&B that we all grew up on, like the millennials, the Generation Zs. It was, the Usher confession tapes, and just like real off the cut R&B. So you had breakup songs. You had, I Want to Make Love to You. It's like, I love you songs. That is. When you talk about protecting the integrity of R&B, it seems like you really tapped in to the influences and the stuff that you heard growing up that kind of just made you feel back then.
Yeah, it's interesting you point out just the different vibes. I literally had this conversation yesterday. I think it's so important when trying to create classic music that what makes it classic, what makes an entire project cohesive as a classic, is being able to tap into different feelings, because you have to consider not one person feels the same way 24 hours a day. So your best bet is to narrate these feelings, curate sonics that match with what people are feeling. So at any point, if you feel any type of way, you're able to come to my album and listen to a song that reflects what you're feeling. Even if you want to get out of a certain feeling, it's important for you to be able to come to the album and have something that'll change your mood. And so I think that is really the albums that inspired me, and the artists that inspired me, is for that very reason. I have Usher Confessions. You mentioned that album. That's one of my favorite R&B albums in the entire world.
It's got to be in your top 5. I feel like if you talk R&B
for me. So I'm like, with that album, no matter how I'm feeling, there's something to go and listen to for however I feel. And so I think I've identified great examples of what I consider to be very, very awesome R&B. And so I just took that inspiration and modernized it, of course, because we're in a different time and people receive music differently and context is a lot different now. So I just figured, okay, cool. How could I do this and make people still relate, even though like experiences have progressed, because we're just in different times, and social media complicates everything, even with feelings. There's so much like unintentional manipulation because of what you see on your timeline all the time. So I had to do some real research and studying to figure out how to translate it. But the feelings and the music was all honest. It's what I felt at the time. I think that I'm grateful for the pandemic in that sense, because I think it was like a palate cleanser to allow people to be able to receive something without just without too much comparison to previous experiences. So it's always awesome.
How do you feel? Like you talk about the way that the game has changed. Like social media is just an intricate part of everybody's lives. You try and escape it. Some people are good at it, but the average majority of us is, kind of involved in social media at some point. How do you feel like that's changed love and relationships?
I don't think it's like anything. It has its pros and it has its cons.
Sure.
And no matter how good or bad something is, it's needed in moderation. And so I think that is what's cool about social media. It makes a lot of things more accessible. We are typically a very visual generation. And so to see things make a little more sense for us. But that goes both ways, because then we see things that may not be so realistic. So the detrimental part of social media, as it pertains to like relationships and stuff, is that we see goals before we see process. And that's dangerous, because that makes you think you don't have to go through anything to get something. And so I don't know if there's like completely a way to bridge the gap with that, but you got to take everything you see online with a grain of salt, literally, because people don't show their process much. And that's why I try and be as honest as I can with music, respectfully, because I'm still a very private person. But as an artist, what I am able to make performative and share, I try and do so just to allow people to see, like, it's not, you don't just start off at the top of whatever you're working toward. So it's just important to just put it all out there as much as you can, as comfortable as you can be. It's important to do that. So yeah.
No, I feel that 100%. And you talk about the journey, the process. Like, I think that's something that, and we live in a microwave era where it's like, okay, like you said, you see the instant gratification and results of, said work that you were doing all this time. But for you, like, your journey in the music to get to this point where you're on, this run, even in the pandemic, that's probably something that you envisioned, 5, 6, maybe 10 years ago. How long did it take you to get to this point where you feel comfortable about where you're headed in your career?
Man, I've been putting out or starting on music since I was like a senior in high school. So it's been like 10 plus years trying to just put out solid music. But I think when I finally felt like comfortable as an artist and more established with my sound, that may have started in like 2012 or so. That's when I started consistently making music. I knew who Kenyon Dixon was as an artist. I knew what my music should sound like. And so it's been work ever since then. And I've had like some amazing, opportunities in different situations, but none of it is comparative to what I'm experiencing now, which won't be comparative to what I'm experiencing years from now either. So I look at it and respect it all as the process, but it doesn't happen overnight. That's an interesting saying in general when people are, it's like, I look up overnight and this is what happened. It's like, that's a matter of visibility. The work has been done for years. Like before I even decided it was something I wanted to do, there was work being done to steer me in that direction, to be comfortable enough to acknowledge that that's something that I wanted to do. So yeah, it's been a very, very long time. So yeah, I'm just grateful though, because it's also cool to still be in love for that long. Because some people, after you've had so many tries, it's like, cool, I'm gonna do something else, and I never felt that way.
Yo, now, and you're the OG now. So, I mean, you passing that down. Like, how does it feel to go from, I'm just trying to soak up the game. I'm in these rooms with these people that, and a lot of people don't know that, obviously, like you said, you write your own songs, but you've written songs for other people. So you've been in a lot of different sessions. You've been in a lot of different rooms. How did you have to practice and exercise patience while you had this vision, but you had to execute this first before you got to this point?
Man, I've always seen it all as one big process. Because again, when we're talking about like your gift making room for you, it doesn't say it's gonna make room for you only if you're in this position. If you're in the room, you're in the room. So no matter where you are in the room, it's important to work and stay on top of your purpose because that room is still gonna be made. And so I looked at it as you look at any other profession and um you still have to go to school first. If you want to teach as a professor, you don't graduate from high school after taking algebra 2 and then go teach at a 4-year. So it's like I see it, the arts are a little different because it's all visual. So
Yeah.
people only see the student and the teacher. They don't see the process of becoming that with anything visual, really, especially not with entertainment. So I just saw it as me getting free game from OGs who y'all have acquired something that I desire to have. So I never felt slighted. There's always a human emotion where you're anxious and you're
Right.
like,
Chip on the shoulder.
oh, I know I can do what this person is doing, or but there's an art really to learning how to not be anxious for anything and just to operate in your purpose until it's your turn. And so I use even with the progress I've made now, which is great progress as an artist, I'm still en route to something greater. So I've used all of this time and all of these experience, as much as I've toured with other artists, written with other artists, I use it to just soak up game. So I know no matter what curveball comes, when I'm front and center, I'm prepared. And I know, cool, I remember you said do this, so I'll move over here. And then
Right.
you said if this happens in this space, then I should move back here. So it's all game to me, it's strategy.
Bro, you got the wisdom of like a 50-year-old. Like you so you soaked it all up, man. So it's dope to see that and to embrace that process and everything that comes with it. Expectations, great album. Have enjoyed listening to it and living with it. More importantly, because so much music comes out now, and with digital streaming platforms, everything has changed. But like we talked about, I was so intrigued that you were able to have a listening party and engage with fans in a time that you just had to pivot. How cool was that to kind of have that feel again? And like you said with R&B, people got to feel that. So to see them feeling that real time, how much validation did that give you? Not that you're releasing it because you're satisfied with it, but to see that external validation.
It felt good, man. And the album is so like this entire experience is so true to the name, like because it exceeded any expectations I had about this entire project, which is really what it was about. It's like I don't know what to expect. I've never put music out during the pandemic. People have never had to receive music during the pandemic. People are off work. Some people are working more. Some people are at home. Some people it's just everything is different. So you literally don't know what to expect. And so when I put the music out, man, and had that with the listening party, it was so dope and super affirming to see how everybody was rocking with the music because there was even more of an appreciation because there was a lack of it because a lot of artists and again it's no slight to any artist, some people need teams in order to create. They understand where their strong points are.
Right.
But a lot of artists who weren't self-sufficient couldn't put out music during this time, so there was a huge lack of music because unless you had the resources, or unless you were able to record yourself, even have equipment at your crib, it's like you're at a standstill because your norm is disrupted. So especially for artists who are used to going into studios and all of these creatives being there, it's like you couldn't even do that. Like health wise, there were so many restrictions. So I think there was two sides of it. It was just affirming to see them rocking with the music, but then there was like a new level of appreciation for it because they were also impressed that I was able to create something like this in the middle of what was going on. So like people's minds were kind of like mentally, how are you even in that space to still create music that feels like this? Because this is not a reflection of anything that we're dealing with. And
Right.
so it was just, I don't know, man, it was inspiring for me and super cool. And it made me feel good. I knew that this album would be received well after that. Prior to that, but also from the listening session, it was dope. It was really good energy, man.
Man, what do you like to do? And do you read books a lot? Because I feel like you I feel like you read books. You got a lot of wisdom, man. What do you do in your free time?
I listen to a lot of people, man. You know, I have a million books in the house that I probably haven't even read 2% of them halfway through.
So it's
But
not just me. All right, cool.
yeah, I like I listen, man. I literally I'm always listening to my OGs, to even random people, man. I love to just listen to conversation and just get perspective on things. But I've always been like that since I was a child, just nosy, ear hustling. As a child, that's what it was. But as an adult, yeah, I just like to have conversation, and I do. I guess I do read a lot too outside of books, just stuff online. Like I love looking at like articles, and then I do a lot of like researching. I love fact checking stuff. So when people say
Yeah.
stuff, even when they're talking, I'm always the one, like they don't know I'm over on Google typing in what they say. Try to read up on more information about it. So yeah, man.
Same, man. That's what's up, man. Kenyon Dixon on InDepth with us here.
Yes, sir.
You talk about obviously pivoting and adjusting. How excited are you whenever, if you're going to take the vaccine, if you're not, for us to be kind of inching back towards some normalcy? And like you said, over the past year and some change to get this project done, it's been, I'll send it over, I'll WeTransfer it, or I'll put it in the Dropbox. How much do you miss the essence of a session? Because you've been in the room with some hitters, like you said.
Yeah. I miss it, man. I definitely miss it. I've been blessed to, I don't think I've experienced the pandemic the way like most of the world probably has. I've still able to travel, still been able to be in studio sessions. With health considered,
Right.
proper protocol and everything like that, I've still been able to do shows. So it's been interesting, but I miss it at the capacity that we were all operating at before. And so, especially with an album coming out, like anytime I drop something, I look forward to going out on the road to perform music and
Yeah.
like do shows. And so, like I said, I was still able to do some shows, but it's not that same feeling. But what I do appreciate about it is people have developed a new appreciation for it, because I think in this time it made them consider, what if this was gone completely
Yeah.
and we never got it back? And so that gratitude is shown. Like I'm doing shows, and it's like, usually, everybody, it's like church. They tell you stand up, you're like hesitant or whatever the case is.
You
You
eventually.
have to ask. People are, it could be the slowest song. People are just standing up and like, they miss it. You can tell, So, yeah, I'm ready for it to come back, man, because I think that's a part of the human experience. I don't think we're supposed to be like away from each other all of this time and like not able to experience like the quality of life. Yeah, I don't think we were intended to like stay in this space. So with the, with health considered as much as possible, I'll be like really, really glad when we can get back to, I don't think it'll ever be the norm again, but just get
Right.
back to, what we like, what's normal for us.
What song are you most excited to sing in front of a packed crowd?
That's a great question.
So
You
you
know
got
what?
you got a list to choose from, a whole set list here, man.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I think I have like a top 5. I can't even think of like,
You can give me 5, because I mean I saw one of your set lists and I was like, yo, like that's nothing but smashes right there.
and it's so tough because this project alone could build my entire set list, but then you have people who want to hear the other songs that aren't on this album. So it's
Day
like,
ones.
what do I do? Yeah. So Expectations for me, the title track, I love that because I mean, every time I've performed it so far, people are up dancing. Like it's a good time for them. It's a
Makes you
moment
move.
to forget about everything that's going on. Toxic because I get to sing. I love singing.
Yeah.
And so the modulations, they love that. Like that's for the musician, for the people who appreciate like the integrity of music. It's hard way because everybody just loves that song, and I love it. I just love where the song goes. Tides is like Tides is like my it's like my intermediary song. Like it's for the people who know music, but also the people who don't know music because they understand what the song context is about.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like that's a song everybody can enjoy. And then Guide for me, I get people hit me all the time about that song and just how it makes them feel. There's something very like enlightening and uplifting about the song. And I enjoy those moments on stage as well, just to be able to like connect with people stripped down, just to see people listening and appreciating you know what the experience is. And I think that's also important as an artist. And those are all true to what we were talking about earlier. Those are all different moments that they love for different reasons. So I think that's why the project is doing as well as it is, because there are just different feelings on there. And so I enjoy, and those feelings are like heightened live. That's the other super dope thing. There's nothing like a live experience. I could perform it a million times on a virtual concert, or I could, go on Clubhouse and play it and talk to y'all about it. But it's like there's nothing that matches being in a room and getting that experience.
No, I agree, man. I really do miss the height of a live breakdown that's not on the studio version, and
Yeah.
being able to like just feel the energy that was put into making that set. Where you talk about the live experience, did you grow up in the church and inquire, like, what was your background in that? Because I can just hear, like, you talk about the modulation and the harmonies that you put together and the runs.
Yeah.
It just feels like you was in the church on Sundays.
Yeah, I'm born and raised in church, man. My mother still to this day, she's a district evangelist for the Church of God in Christ.
That's what's up.
And she sings. My father, he was a guitarist, and he sang. All of my siblings sang. So I started off in choir, youth choir, leading songs. By the time I got old enough to get in like regular choir, I really didn't have any interest in music or singing. Rather, I didn't even want to sing. So. But yeah, I was in church Monday through Sunday. I mean, my parents were preaching every night, so like or teaching or whatever there was. So I was in the back on the pew, like doing homework or sleep, or my mom is like teaching YPWW or some type of class or just service, whatever it was.
No, I feel you.
I'm a church kid.
No, yeah, my mom was always Sunday early service, and then at 11 o'clock, got to come back, get that breakfast right in between.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's it. Sunday school at 9, and the breakfast in between, and got the 11 o'clock service. Then the dinner.
Yeah, man. At like 3 o'clock.
Then the 6 o'clock service. Yeah.
Man. Those are the days, man. Before we get you out of here, man, what has been in your rotation this past year? Like, who are some of the new artists that you kind of discovered, or you're like, yo, they're dope, I might have to work with them, or you're just kind of enjoying their music?
Man, let's see. I love Brick Liam, Ajani, Ray Louise, Alex Isley. It's really all the people that I work with, kind of. Jay Nova. There is, who else have I been listening to? Lucky, of course. Lucky Day, man. I love Lucky Day.
It's funny that you mentioned Lucky, because for the people that obviously just saw his EP release and have listened to it, I kind of got similar vibes, in the sense that obviously he had duets with all women. You got a lot of good duets on here with women that are just like back to the pure ballad form, especially the one with Jay Nova, Stay Down, which you had a challenge, I believe, for that one.
It's going on right now.
It's going crazy. I've been peeping the videos, and I'm like, that's another innovative idea from your mind, man. Is that something that we talk about the integrity of R&B, just something that you've always said, I'm passionate about doing these duets because it feels like the core and the essence of what this genre is?
That coupled with I'm genuinely a fan of these artists. Like, I pride myself in making music that makes sense for me, and so a lot of people do features and things like that because they need like the collaborative effort to drive the song. And I never do that. I do it because these are artists that I actually believe in. Alex Isley, amazing vocalist. Jay Nova, amazing vocalist. Ray Louise, amazing vocalist. It's like it's never just because because of the hype or because, and I won't even, it feels weird even saying hype in regards to them because it's not that, because they'll stand with anybody you put them with. So
if anything, they need more flowers, honestly.
absolutely, absolutely. And so I think that's I just respect them, and there's a mutual respect as artists and as musicians and vocalists, and I just, any opportunity I get, because I'm such fans of my friends, if I can with my little platform, if I'm able to create a space to put more people onto the people I already think are amazing, I'm always gonna do it. And so, and the music speaks for itself, like their performance, they sound amazing on these records. So it's like anything I say is just a bonus on top of it. It's just that they're really awesome. But I do think that is a huge part of R&B. You know, that's what we heard. We got the duets. We got the Deborah Cox and RL. We got, I mean, you name like the, you know, the stuff that we love and that we could sing back and forth. I think we don't have a lot of that anymore. And we've had duets, but it's just more innovative and progressive, as it should be, because we are an innovative and progressive generation. But for the people who want to hear and experience what we have with the classics, I think it's important to you know, try and curate that. And so that's always my goal with the collaborative efforts. But first, it's always because I think that these artists are really dope.
No, that's love, man. And you know, you talk about Alex. She's just. I feel like y'all could get an EP in there. Just as many tracks you guys have already had together. It's pretty dope to see that you guys have that chemistry. Last question for you. Obviously, you're a 2-time Grammy nominee.
Yeah.
You know, that's pretty dope. You know, whether you win or lose, I always say that, you know, because in TV business, it's all about getting Emmy wins and stuff like that. But if I'm nominated, you know, that's a milestone right there.
The acknowledgement is there if that's what you wanted. Yeah.
Exactly. And, you know, if there was one song off this album, Expectations, that you would put in the running for an R&B Song of the Year Grammy, what song would it be? Because I feel like you got quite a few choices, just like you said for your set list, man.
Yeah. I'd have to go with Hard Way, because I think Hard Way has so many elements of R&B and other genres, also inspired by R&B. So it still ends up being R&B, but I think something about that song all around, there's something that somebody can enjoy about it. And next year we'll see what happens, but we're gonna go for it and see. You know, get the project out there and yeah, we're gonna campaign. See what.
Get into the air, bro. I like that. We're gonna manifest in 2021. So we're not gonna be afraid to speak those things into the air. Kenyon Dixon, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. Glad to have you on.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.